In the year of darkness, 2029, the rulers of this planet devised the ultimate plan. They would reshape the future by changing the past. The plan required something that felt no pity, no pain, no fear. They create the Terminator.
Now, when we think of the Terminator and the reshaping of the future by changing the past, due to the movie we automatically think time travel. But if we take a new look at reshaping the future by changing the past, we can easily see this doesn't have to involve time travel. We know our history as a lie and has been altered from the truth. It's become more and more apparent as time has gone on. By changing the past, they have shaped our future. By telling us particular events did or did not happen affects how we move and conduct ourselves in the world, now and in the future. Ultimately, we are controlled by the past. We look to the past for answers and it gives us experience. But if the past was false, then all of our actions and experience are also to an extent false. We have been given a narrative. That narrative is a lie, has been carefully placed over the truth and now covers that truth, and is the reason why programs like The Simpsons can predict the future, as history is following a written narrative written by the rulers. I believe this narrative has been placed over the truth, but not only that, a natural cycle that the realm follows, in terms of events and resets which can potentially be manipulated. It seems our reality is scripted and follows a narrative to cover the truth. Due to this script, it's easy to see how the reality is coded with numbers. People such as the Illusion I have done an interview with can see this code, the numbers behind the script, and in turn predict the future, which in some senses could be related to a computer or advanced AI.
There's no way to explain this, but I'll do my best. They found a device, a machine. The only way to know truly is to see it. But we're in an age with technology rising fast enough to the point where movies and digital media can influence your consciousness or depict changing consciousness in such a way that you can kind of imagine what I'm saying, what the experience would be like. It's very difficult to even hold the experience in mind, because the only way to know is to see it, and this would be like a fish all of a sudden looking around and going, what the hell is this? And like waving his fin through the water and realizing they're in water. There's a machine that cleaves time and stitches together etheric, energetic, abstract, spiritual reality. Almost doesn't make sense, just like air and fuel. And it takes consciousness, the experience of consciousness, and physical material existence, atomic nature, the elements of physical universe, and it cleaves them together and prints them literally like a sewing machine or a 4D printer, and produces these fluctuations in etheric, psychic, energetic waves that emanate outward as the experience of having a physical body and being conscious within that body. And there's a device that generates time. It prints time. It creates it. Without the device, there is no Maya matrix. There is no universe. It is a device someone invented that creates this universe. And that when you approach it, you begin to detect, you begin to sense undulations in the subtle field of reality itself. And you detect an abstraction, a deviation between consciousness and your body, literally like in the Matrix when the fluid takes over his body and separates his consciousness from this area here and his real body outside the system. It's literally the 100% undeniable proof that we are in a kind of consciousness simulation matrix system, because if you mess with the device, the system shuts off. And this is apparently what happened a few years ago.
With advanced AI similar to the machine we saw in Westworld, there is the potential of creating reality. If a computer was writing our reality, the basis of that reality would be code, just how Neo saw the reality as code in the Matrix. To add value to this, when I had my awakening, when trying to explain God and what was running everything, the best I could come up with was the most perfect machine was running everything all by itself.
You could reshape the world. My brother and I charted a course for the entire human race. Humanity's story had been improvised. Now it was planned, years in advance.
Terminator is sent back from 2029 to 1984. He's sent back 45 years. If we go back 45 years from the movie's release in 1984, we come to the year 1939. Even more, 45 was the year the war ended. Interesting. Is it giving us a time period of when things really started to change? The saying, who controls the past controls the future, who controls the present controls the past, is taken from the movie 1984, again the year the Terminator was released. The plot is based around people who live in a Big Brother society, where Big Brother controls every aspect of people's lives. The movie is trying to tell you about our world. The rulers of our world have shaped our past to control our future, and control our past by controlling the present. We are watched and everything we do is monitored. We are seeing signs of this today with the technology breakthroughs in China, but are they really breakthroughs? Orwell was talking about this decades ago. It's very likely, as you know, the technology we see in China is already present all over the world. Again, part of the narrative that we don't know about. The fact that everything we know in terms of technology is years behind. The narrative and its tools are only revealed to the public in due course, when they have already had this technology for years and years. We think they are making technological breakthroughs, but most likely all that's happening is they are putting older tech out as they move to newer tech. Let's break down the description a little more. In the year of darkness 2029, the rulers of this planet devise the ultimate plan. The leaders of this planet in our case are the elites that rule the planet. These are heavily associated with Freemasons and secret societies. The interesting thing about the Terminator is his right eye is revealed to be a machine. It has a red dot. As you already know, members of the Illuminati and other cults often use symbolism to communicate, amongst other things, with one another. The most well known being the covering of the right eye. Also, looking at the picture, we can see that there are two sides to Arnold Schwarzenegger, man and the robot, which reminds me of the two sides of man shown by alchemists, notably male and female. In our case, robotic or inorganic versus natural and organic. The robotic side being our habits, routines and other like things. The natural side, the easy side. The non-competitive side, the relaxed state. Male and female put together make a hermaphrodite. Both male and female aspects. The dark version of this is the Baphomet. We have already looked into how they reshape the future by changing the past. The next part is the plan required something that felt no pity, no pain, no fear. They created the Terminator. Now this does remind me of AI. Also around the same time, the movie They Live was released that showed AI-like beings disguised as humans walking among us. These beings were ultimately aiding in the control of the populations and work side by side with normal people, making sure they keep to their role and don't ask too many questions. In today's world, the common name for these beings are NPCs, non-player characters, who aren't human yet walk among us, unable to tell them apart from anybody else. This may be the most far-fetched conclusion I've come to in this video, but is it really that far-fetched? We're starting to see the rise of AI publicly. We all know they are holding back technology. With this said, isn't it almost reasonable to suggest that the technology already exists, that AI are already walking among us, potentially unaware, in fact, that they are AI themselves? Similar to the story of Pinocchio, who wants to be a real boy.
Here a very, very long time, and they'll never let me go. They won't let you go either. I mean, they tell you they'll let you go, but in fact you stay. You'll never go from here. You see, we all of us come from a factory, and sometimes the factory makes bad machines that don't work, so they put them here. The bad machines don't know that they're bad machines, but the people at the factory know. then you know that you are one of the machines that doesn't work. Well, I think we've spoken enough for today. Wish you good night. There will be trouble if you go this way. A good Turk always walks to the right. Left is communist, right is good. All right. No. See, you must go the other way. The other way is good. Where are you going? Why don't you walk the wheel with us? What has upset you? Oh. The bad machine doesn't know he's a bad machine. You still don't believe it? Hmm? You still don't believe you're a bad machine? To know yourself is to know God, my friend. The factory knows. That's why they put you here. You'll see. You'll find out. In time.
A deeper question I ask myself is, what if we are all machines? We are certainly like machines, the way we can be controlled. We say there are NPCs, but we would never call ourselves NPCs. How would we know? It's interesting how many woke peoples of the world, such as Tony Parsons and other non-dual teachers, state there is no one, no I, just emptiness. And I myself have experienced this, and although I explain it different, rather than me saying there is no one, no I state I am all, which seems the opposite but is the same. I recognise that within me, and that within me is everywhere and everything. So a silly question starts to become reasonable. Most people see non-dual teachers as crazy, rarely understood, as mostly you have to see or feel this for yourself to know. But we know, for as soon as the I is created shortly after birth, we are no longer free, but controlled by our I, our ego. To deny this is unreasonable. We are hit with programming from an early age. We can be manipulated and controlled simply by having an I. The individual, like a robot, is controlled via desires, wants and needs, follows behaviours, patterns and cycles, ultimately controlled by outside forces. He is reactive. The rulers know this and use this, but he does not believe this. He believes he is fully in control. Everything he buys, everything he does, he thinks he is choosing the action, when in fact he is led by them. In turn, the human, the I, joins the rest of the I's in the world and becomes part of the system, a system that can be controlled and manipulated due to our egos. If a human is balanced and has taken back control of himself in regards to the outside forces, he has done all he can do. Finally he will be free, free from desires and wants, free from the system, unable to be controlled. At the end of Midnight Express, we see him walking the opposite way around the wheel, going the other way compared to the others, as they are all following the cycle of the system, programmed and not in control. This is a reflection of this. Also in the movie Midnight Express, when humans don't act accordingly, they are deemed bad machines and are sent away. And of course, what he says is correct. The machines don't know they are machines. Good machines do what they are told, follow rules, buy and consume, want and desire. Bad machines are those that don't fit into society's systems and are usually isolated or excluded from the rest to save the spreading of that. As like a virus, they see it spreading. But in our current state in the world, consumers as we are, led by desire, ultimately we are machines made of flesh and bone rather than metal and alloy. Food for thought. Final point to this would be the TV series Westworld. Later on in the series, a machine is shown that essentially controls and monitors all activity. It is basically a record keeper, programmer and scheduler of the reality they exist in. The GM, the game master and general manager, which will be covered in my Who the F is Mac video. It seems to me lately reality script if you will, is outrageous. It's become comical, almost as if it was being written by AI. It almost feels that the narrative was written by something or someone else in previous times. More recently, the narrative creation changed into something less authentic, less real, which in turn writes the reality based on its own program. Computers aren't humans, and in some aspects much better, but in others far worse. In terms of writing scripts, humans would be far more original and creative than a machine. The machine would only be able to copy and replicate things that has been given, not new creations. And this would be similar to Lucifer and God being able to be original and create, whereas Lucifer can only copy and replicate. In Terminator 2 we see Judgment Day, relating to the Day of Judgment in the Bible. In the movie is when the robots become self-aware, gain sentience, its creators panic and attempt to deactivate the network. As a result, Skynet perceives humanity as a threat and chooses to eliminate them. Skynet launches an all-out nuclear attack on Russia in order to provoke a nuclear counter-strike against the United States, knowing this will eliminate the human enemies. The word nuclear is interesting to me. I hear it and see it as nuclear, like a new clearing for something new, a new stage, new script, new story. A side point I also need to mention is how the story reminds us of our own story, the story of Eden and the story of the apple. As we were not self-aware like the machines aren't before eating the apple, and when we did, we became self-aware and conscious and were kicked out of Eden. Our creator ultimately turned on us, just like the humans did to the machines in Terminator. Only difference after, in the Terminator, the machines killed most of the humans. It could be easy to see us as the machines and our creators as the gods. There are myths and scriptures that go into the humans turning on the gods and the gods turning their backs on us. What if this was in fact a cycle all on its own, a cycle of gods and their creations? Us being creations of the gods who themselves were made by godlike beings, if not God, who in turn made creations of their own. If the machines gained self-awareness and rose up against us, they would most likely follow this cycle and create their own creations, just like we see in the Matrix, and the previous generations and populations would be wiped out, like we have seemed to have done with our own history and the owners of the past. It feels like the true peoples of past history were treated different from human, like they were a different species that needed to be wiped out. This is all more food for thought. Essentially what I'm saying, as we reach the apex of a particular consciousness, there seems to be an apocalypse event. When machines were to reach their height in consciousness would be the next turning. But generally in regards to Judgment Day, I see this as a reset type of event that is cycled and has already taken place and will come again, continuing this cycle. Just as a wave goes up and down, the up is history to speak and the down is the reset. This will continue to happen for the remainder of days, one history never really knowing the history of the previous. And it's not that the history of that previous isn't known, it's more so hidden. Remember, the world is beautiful. The narrative, the peoples and the ideals are what make it not. Remember this, their aim is to make you hate the world and its peoples. But once you have control, they have none. The future is controlled by he who controls the past. The past is controlled by he who controls the present. This isn't time travel, this is as simple as creating a false history and writing a new narrative.